Hey, Knolly Williams here. I am the business healer, and I'm super excited for this session that you're about to watch. That's right. You want to watch this whole thing in its entirety, this upcoming session. Now, this is one that I recorded for EXP University for our Level Up series. It was done some time ago, just some months ago. But here's the thing. It was the fastest growing Level Up session, and it's all about listings. How do you get more listing leads? How do you get more listings, period? This is what's on all of our minds right now. So I want to reintroduce you to this training. Now, this particular video got over 8,000 views, got lots of interaction, and I know you're going to absolutely love it. Now, this comes right on the heels, okay, of my new EXP Elevate coaching course, which is called 10 listings a month. That's right. I took over 10 listings a month, and I did that over 10 years in a row. Okay. And I teach you in the EXP Elevate coaching course how to do it all. But before, I want to make sure you get a sneak peek. You can check out my style, my energy, how I teach, and see if you want to be part of the 6-week course that's going to really unpack everything so that you become a listing rock star. All right. Well, here it is, the one that you've been wanting to watch. Make sure you watch it all the way through to the end, and you're going to learn how to take a ton more listings with this upcoming video. Well, what's up, EXP family? Knolly Williams here. I'm super duper excited to hang out with you today. And we're talking about how to get more listings in this market. I call it an emerging market. Some call it the market of the moment. Some call it a shifting market. But it just is the market that is. You know, markets always shift. They always shift. And what happens when a market starts to shift is that everybody gets a little bit panicky. They get a little bit afraid, a little bit scared. You'll notice those deer in the headlights at first. And then that goes on for 30, 60, sometimes 90 days, sometimes 4 months, sometimes 6 months. Okay, you can remember back to the beginning of the pandemic when we got hit with what could be a different market. And most people thought that the market was really going to go south at that time. But what happened? It exploded. So we're at another crossroads now where we're looking at, how do I get listings right now? Now, if you're watching this relatively close to when we recorded it, this is for you. Now, if you're watching this 5 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe 30 years from now, you're watching this, it's still going to be relevant because this is evergreen content. So what I want to specifically talk to you about is success with listings and how to build a massive listing inventory in this market. Now, there's 3 things that I want to cover with you today. Number 1, I'm going to cover the 3 lead buckets. Now, one thing that I discovered this years and years ago, is that there are 3 buckets where all the listing leads that you ever need will come from. It's actually good news because you don't have to chase up or down or high or low to figure out where to get listings. I'm going to make it very, very simple for you. So that's the first thing we're going to study, is the 3 lead buckets. Secondly, we're going to go into the 8 sources. There's 8 different sources right now that you need to be focusing on or you should consider focusing on. I don't tell you what you need to do, but you should consider focusing on these 8 areas for listing leads because they're hot areas that are going to be relative and relevant for right now. So with that, let's just dig right in. So how do you find listings? I get this question all the time. You know, my coaching clients, my students, my agents in my group, they're like, Knolly, okay, I get it. We need listings. How do we get them? Well, let's talk first about the 3 lead buckets. Okay. And I'm gonna say them, and I want you to write them down. I don't want you just to listen to the sound of my voice or just watch me talking. Don't just watch the white hat. Okay. Take notes. So the first bucket is your SOI. SOI, that's sphere of influence. That's the biggest bucket that you'll ever have in the real estate business, your SOI. Now, the second bucket is your farm. Your farm. That's a geographic farm, a geographical area. It could even be a digital farm, okay? But sometimes it could even be a demographic farm. But for right now, I just want you to be thinking about a geo farm, a geographic area where you have decided to take over as the mayor of that area. Okay. Now, and your third bucket is going to be your niche. Your niche. Now, depending on where you live, you might actually pronounce it as niche. Okay. But I'm originally from Texas, and we do things a little backward in Texas. We call it niche. You got a niche to get rich. And so what I want you to do is I want you to write those down: SOI, farm, and niche. And then I want to briefly share with you what each of these are before I get into the 8 areas that you want to be concentrating on for more listings. So first, we're going to tackle SOI. Now, your sphere of influence is your most important lead bucket. Okay. By the way, when I came up with these 3 different buckets, I remember I was at a friend's house in Elk Grove, California. I was hanging out with them and I was teaching classes. I was teaching people how to become successful at listings. And I kept getting the question, well, where do I get, how did you get all these listings? Where did you get them? Because my story, you know, I took over 1,000 listings during my first 10 years in real estate. Okay. In Austin, Texas, my production was ranked number 7 out of almost 10,000 agents in the city. Austin Business Journal, they did their annual report, and it turned out that I was one of the top 10 agents in the city based on production count, production numbers. And but it was all based on listings. That was my bread and butter. And it still is to this day, the bread and butter for my team. And so people were asking, man, where are you getting all these? I'm like, well, let me just put a pencil to it and look at my history. So I took about 200 to 300 listings, about 250 some listings is what it ended up being. And I just looked at the lead source for each of those listings. Okay, I got this one from here, got this one from there, got this. And it turned out there was about 12 or so lead sources, but they all filtered into just 3 buckets. And that's what we're going to be talking about during the first part of our training together today. So your SOI, those are the people that know, like, and trust you. They're people that already know you or they know of you. Okay, they're very important. Write that down. They know of you. Because the thing is, someone could not even know you, but they know of you. And that's still considered your sphere of influence. You're still influencing those people, or it can still be considered your audience, even though you've never talked to them. One example is maybe you've watched me on YouTube or you've seen training of mine in the past, but you and I have never met, but I still have some influence on you at some level. Okay. And then there's many people that I watch that have influence on me, even though I've never met them in person. So your SOI are people that you have influence on. And I'm going to give you a quick, easy 18 touch campaign because this is the biggest bucket. Not only is it the biggest bucket, it's the most important bucket. And according to the National Association of Realtors, they say, okay, that 7 out of 10 sellers actually chose their agent based on referral from a family member, friend, maybe a church friend, or somebody told them about, or it was a previous agent that they had used in the past. So 7 out of 10 of the listings that you take within the next 12 months are going to come from this bucket alone, according to NAR. So how do you actually get in front of them and have them remember you? Well, I'm going to give you a quick, easy 18 touch. Number 1 is going to be a monthly e-newsletter. It's got to be set it and forget it. Okay. I don't want you handcrafting a newsletter every single month. No, you subscribe to something. I use More Solds. I've used that for years. It's $5 a month. But there are many other systems out there that you can use. More Solds is MORESOLDS if you want to give that one a shot. Or just try to find a good one that will send out your newsletter every single month, okay, 12 months a year, without you having to do anything. It's got to be set it and forget it. I don't want you to have to remember to do anything. I don't want you to do anything. Because when you start inputting your piece into the puzzle, guess what? Things don't get done. And I've coached enough agents to know that if I give you more work to do, then it's going to send you into overwhelm. It's got to be set it and forget it. So that's 12 touches. Then what I want you to do is send out a postcard 4 times a year. Okay. Just create a postcard make it seller centric is my advice. In other words, are you considering selling your home? How much could your home be worth in today's market? Use a headline that's seller centric, like you're actually going after listings with the headline, and send that out, a nice postcard, and 4 times a year. Okay, the same postcard. So if you have a SOI of 250 people, you get 1,000 postcards printed at the beginning of the year, and you send the same card 4 times. Okay, trust me on this. And then what I want you to do is make 2 phone calls a year, one every 6 months, to your top 200 people. Now, if you think about this SOI plan, you can actually implement it within less than 2 hours a week. Okay, probably about an hour a week is all it would take, or maybe a couple hours a week at the most is what it will take you to do this plan. Because if you're calling your top 200 and you're calling them twice a year, that's about 400 phone calls a year. That means you're really only calling 1 or 2 people a day. All right. So this is a super easy, what I call 18 touch. If you missed any of that, just rewind and take notes. Okay. It's super simple. I'm super excited that, EXP University is bringing this to you, because this is the kind of training that you need. And so many of us have gotten together at EXP University. So many of us that are influencers here and love to teach and coach and train, along with the university, are putting all this training together for you so that you can binge out on it and rewind and take notes. All right. So that's your sphere of influence. Now, the next bucket is going to be your farm. Okay. And so what does that mean? What do I mean by that? Well, your farm is, again, your geographic area where you have decided that, you know what, I'm going to become the mayor of that area. All right. Now I'm going to give you 4 pieces of criteria for your farm. Just write these down. Okay. Write these down. Number 1, your farm that you decide to pick should be nearby. Okay. It should be a 7% turn. What does that mean? That means that every year, 7% of the homes in that area sell. Okay, that's preferred. I'd like to see a 7% turn. I would like the price range in that area to be commensurate with the kind of homes that you want to list, right? So if you say, hey, I want to list homes in the $500,000 range, we'll pick a farm that has homes in that range. All right. So it needs to be nearby. It needs to be within, it needs to be a 7% turn. And it also, again, needs to be within the price range of the homes that you would like to list. Okay. So those are really the main 3 criteria is really what I wanted to give you there. And that's on farming. And then the third bucket is your niche. As we say in Texas, you got a niche to get rich. Okay. There's a reason why a cardiologist makes about $153,000 to $156,000 more per year than a general practitioner. Okay. And they're both doctors, but one of them is a specialist. And by the way, you got to understand that if you don't have a heart problem, a cardiologist is going to be completely irrelevant to you, completely irrelevant. But if you've got a heart issue, you're going to go see the cardiologist, and that person becomes ultra super relevant. When you focus on a niche, what that does is it sets you apart from all the other agents in your area. Okay. All the other agents in your market. And it alerts people that, hey, this person is a specialist in this area. I ought to do business with that individual. By the way, there's so many different kinds of niches. It's incredible. It's crazy how many niches there are. I've got a lot of YouTube videos where I teach you how to do niching, how to farm. For the sake of this course, we're not going to go deep into it, or this particular, for the sake of this particular training. But just suffice it to say, the information's out there, and your SOI, your farm, and your niche are the 3 buckets where all the leads that you ever want to have are going to come from. So when I was doing 10 listings a month average, and I did that for over 10 years in a row, what it would look like is, for example, if I did 10 listings that month, I got 5 from my SOI. I got maybe 3 from my farm and 2 from my niche. Now, a lot of agents come to me, they say, Knolly, farming takes a long time. Well, yes, it does. I'm not going to argue with you there. But the reality is, like the old Chinese proverb, when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, 20 years ago. That's the best time. When's the second best time? Today. Today, right now. And so even though these strategies might take time to implement, guess what? You've got a career. You've got years ahead of you where you're going to reap the benefits of putting in the work. Okay, you're going to plant the harvest and you're going to reap. I mean, you're going to plant the seed and you're going to reap the harvest for many years to come. So those are the three buckets I wanted to go over with you. But now what I want to do is I want to quickly give you 8 different lead sources, and I'm going to give these in rapid fashion. So, but don't get overwhelmed. All right. That's why we got the rewind button. Right? I am going to give them in rapid fashion though. So the first, when we think about the market that we're going into right now, like someone asked me in my group, says, okay, I need to know what to do today because I don't want to waste any time, or I might find myself out of the market. That's one thing we don't want. We don't want you to get out of the market. Why? Because real estate's the best game in town. You can't go work another job or some other career and make the kind of income you can make in real estate. It's just impossible. I've never seen it happen. Now, outside of revenue share, real estate's the best game I've seen going. So don't give up. Just change, just shift, just, somebody moved your cheese. I don't know if you've ever read that book, Who Moved My Cheese? Guess what? Your cheese has been moved. I guarantee you it has, but it's still there. Okay. It's just been moved. We just got to go get it. No problem. The cheese is still there. So 8 strategies. How are we going to succeed and thrive in this market? Well, strategy number 1 I want to share with you is what I call a trial listing. Okay. A trial listing. Now, what's a trial listing? Well, whenever I talk to somebody in my SOI, maybe somebody that's in my farm area, or even when I'm working my niche business, and see right now what's happening is a lot of sellers are on the fence. They're not sure. They'll say things like, Knolly, I hear what you're saying, but man, I just don't know that I want to sell right now. I just don't have a good feeling about it. I don't know what this market's doing. And I think we're just going to wait 2 years. Okay. All right. So when they say something like that, just hear me out for a minute. They say that to you. You have a couple of options. You could say, okay, well, I guess what? I'll reach back to you with you in a year or two and see how you're doing then. Would that be okay? Well, you could say that, but I don't recommend it. All right. Or you could say something like, okay, I appreciate where you're coming from. Would you reconsider? Can I still meet with you? And then they're going to look at you like, what are you not hearing about what I'm saying? Okay. So another strategy is a trial listing. Now, I learned this from a buddy of mine that lives in Rancho Cucamonga, California. And I thought it was brilliant. Years and years ago, I learned this strategy and I've been using it ever since. It works really well. So when someone, like, let's say I'm talking to Sheila and she says, no, we kind of were thinking about selling, but I don't think we're going to do it. This market, I don't like what I'm hearing on the news. I don't have a good feeling about it. I think we're going to wait. We're going to wait a year or two. I say, you know what, Sheila? I like your strategy of waiting a year or two. I like it. But there might be a better strategy. Have you ever heard of a trial listing? And what's Sheila going to say? What's that? Okay. Anytime you ever introduce a trial listing, that's the response you always get. What's that? Now, once a person has told me, what is that? What's a trial listing? I just got a hook in them. Okay. Remember, we're out there fishing. All right. I just put my hook in them. Now I got to reel them in. Right? So they say, what's a trial listing? I say, a trial listing. That's where we just list your home on a trial basis. Let's try it out for a week or two. Or we could do a 7-day, a 14-day, a 30-day. Now, it used to be when I would use this strategy, even 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, I mean, stuff was selling so fast, I could do a 7-day listing. All right. Everybody else was talking to them about a 6-month listing, a 3-month, whatever it was. I say, hey, we could do a 7-day listing. Oh, you can do that's a trial listing. We'll try it out. Now, this will drive your broker crazy if you actually take a 7-day listing. Don't do that. What you're going to do is you're going to take a regular listing. If they're interested, you say, hey, let me share with you that's how a trial listing works. Let's meet and let's just go over the numbers and see if the numbers even work. can we meet on Thursday at 3, or would Monday at 2 be better for you? Okay. So once you have that appointment with them, see, now you just opened the door of possibility where you say, well, let's look at the trial. That just sounds better. Okay. Now you're still going to list it for a 6-month term or whatever term you normally list. But on the special provisions, you're going to say seller may terminate this listing at any time within, after 30 days or whatever the trial listing term is that you that you feel is appropriate. Now, here's one thing I know. I've never used this strategy where a seller has actually gone through, like let's say I did a 30-day trial listing and we're on day 31. I've never ever had a seller pull the listing. Okay, because once they're on the market, they're in flow and they're in a space where they want to sell. The trial listing is just a strategy to get them there. Okay, now the second strategy is what I call pre-NODs. Pre-NOD. NOD stands for notice of default. Now, whenever someone has missed a mortgage payment, their credit is triggered, right? And there are companies that can actually sell you the data of people that have missed a mortgage payment. Now, I'm not talking about notice of defaults. This is a night and day difference. So I want you to understand the difference of what I'm talking about. I don't want you, Knolly told us to work on notice of defaults. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about pre-NODs. That's before they hit the notice of default. Now, when they hit the notice of default, that means their property is already up for auction. And you might only have 20 days or 30 days. But with a pre-NOD, all it means is that they missed one mortgage payment. That's it. And with you have to use certain scripts. I'll give you access to a free download that you can get. But you got to use certain scripts. You can't just muscle in and say, hey, I hear you missed a payment. No. You got to be soft with them. But pre-NODs is a super incredible strategy for generating more listings. Because the thing is, a lot of people are going to start missing it's already happened. They're starting to miss their mortgage payments. Okay. And what Chase did a study years and years ago, and they found out that if a person missed one mortgage payment, listen to this, if a person missed just one mortgage payment, they were 50% likely to go into foreclosure. Okay. So just one payment they missed, and half of all the people that missed one payment ended up having their home foreclosed. That's a big percentage. So, if a person misses one payment, they're in trouble. Okay. And pre-NODs is a great strategy. There are several companies that you can go to, companies like Landvoice. The RedX is another company that will be able to aggregate that data and get it over to you for the pre-NOD list. Now, old expireds is another one. Okay. Old expired. Those are people that maybe their house expired in 2016, 2017, 2018, and they never relisted. All right. That's a great list of people. And I know companies like Landvoice, RedX, and others have that kind of data. You can pull it yourself, but it's a lot of work to figure out, okay, they went off the market in 2019. Have they ever relisted? Well, you got to go through 2 years of data, whereas there's companies that can scrub the data for you and hand it to you and say, here's a list of people that went off the market more than a year ago and have never relisted. Then you're having those conversations with reaching out to them. Hey, I noticed your home was on the market back in 2020. I know the pandemic hit, everything kind of got crazy, or it got a little weird for everybody, but we've got a lot of people that have sold in your neighborhood since then. In fact, I looked and there was over 56 sales in your area since you took your house off the market. Have you ever thought about putting your house back on the market? And they say, no, we really don't want to do that, but we thought about it a little bit. Well, are you even a little curious about what your home might even be worth in today's emerging market? You see, you say it with curiosity. Are you even a little curious about what your home might be worth in today's emerging market? Well, we've been kind of curious about it. We've been looking on Zillow. Oh, Zillow. Ooh. Well, and then you open up the conversation. Okay. That's old expires. Now, number 4 is your sphere of influence, your SOI. Okay. Now that's an obvious one. We all know that SOI is, I just finished talking about SOI. Okay. But right now you want to get on the phone with your SOI and have no agenda except to see how they're doing and check up on them. Okay. If they have a real estate need, great. If they don't, great. It doesn't matter. Look and see what they're doing. Check on Facebook. Hey, I just was checking through Facebook. I was, looking at, your latest information, and I see Catherine just went off to college, and you guys just got a puppy. Wow, you've got a lot going on since we last talked, and you just talked to them. Is there anything I can help you with? I know we just got through this pandemic. Things are kind of, it's just a different world right now. Can I help you with anything? And you become that resource for them. Maybe they're looking for a plumber, a painter. Maybe they need an attorney. Maybe whatever. You are the resource that they should think about no matter what they need. Okay. They need a restaurant recommendation. They're celebrating their anniversary. It doesn't matter. You should know or have access to the information. And then it's always going to come back. Well, how are you doing? What are you doing? And you're going to say, you know what? I'm doing real well, but I have a big problem right now. Maybe you can help me with my problem. And they're going to say, well, what's your problem? And you're going to say, my problem is inventory. Inventory, that's my problem. I don't have enough. Who do you know that's thinking about selling right now or buying? And then you open up the conversation that way. And then you train them that whenever they run across anyone that is thinking about selling or buying their, something, that you enter into a 3-way text, introduce them to me on a text. I'd love to chat with them. Now, if they're not willing to do that, and you just say, are you comfortable with that? Are you okay with that? And they'll tell you. If they're not, then you say, okay, I get it. All you've got to do then is just make sure that you send me their contact information. Don't give them mine. Send them to me, but get their permission. Hey, I'm going to have such and such reach out to you. Would that be okay? Would you be offended if I had my agent just reach out to you? She does a free consultation and not going to cost you a dime, and she's not going to be salesy. And if you get their permission, then send me their contact information and I'll reach out to them directly. See, you have to teach people how to refer you business, and they'll do it in your preferred way. Otherwise you'll never get that business. Okay, so the last 4 strategies, and I want you to write these down because I'm going to go through them fairly quickly. Number 5 is probate. Probate is a great strategy, and probate is for people, families that have lost a loved one. That home goes through probate after someone passes away, they die, and the home many times has to be sold. It's willed over to the family, and in many cases, family members don't keep the house. They've got to liquidate. And so by you becoming a probate expert, guess what? See, here's the thing I know. Probate is going to survive any market. There's always going to be people entering the world, new babies, and there's always going to be people exiting the world. That's never going to stop happening, okay? And so probate, that's just one of those niches that if you are good at it and you've got a handful of probate attorneys in your back pocket, you can do great no matter what the market is. So probate's another niche. Divorce, that's number 6, divorce. Now, one thing that was interesting about the pandemic is that we started working close, with our significant others. Many of us were home. And what I've seen, and this is quite interesting because divorce rates have actually gone up since the pandemic. And what I've noticed is that some couples are like, you know what? I really like you. I kind of knew I liked you, but now that we've been spending all this time together over the years, I know I like you. But others are like, you know what? I kind of thought I didn't like you. Now I know I don't like you. in fact, I'm done. I don't want nothing to do with you, right? So us being in close proximity has kind of, I don't know, it's truncated time in a way. And so there's a lot of divorce happening. It could be sad in a way, but it's just the reality. And if you become a divorce specialist, that's another niche that will survive any market. Because guess what? When a couple splits up, a lot of times the real property has to be liquidated. That's just the way it goes. Now, the 7th strategy is, and we're almost done, 7th strategy is circle prospecting. Okay. What does that mean? That means you just sold, you just listed, you just got under contract, or you just sold a property in a neighborhood. Well, what I want you to do is I want you to go with the contract in hand, the that you had. Don't show the contract when you go door to door, but you're going to knock about 20, 30, or 40 doors around the house that you just sold. You say, hey, the Arthurs, they just sold their house over on 301 Maple. You know the Arthurs. Oh, you don't know them? Well, I got their house, listed. It just went under contract. Now, if it's not your listing, maybe it's a colleague. You say, hey, a colleague of mine just got that one under contract. Now, let's say it's not even a colleague with EXP. Let's say they're with some other company. Are people still with other companies? I guess that still happens. Anyway, they're with some other company. You say, you know what? One of the agents in our market just sold. It doesn't matter what it is, okay? Just sold that one. All right. And what I've noticed is that there are a lot of buyers looking in this area right now. Have you ever thought about selling your house? Or have you ever considered what your home might be worth in today's emerging market? Okay. And if they say, well, we have kind of, I don't know, then, well, we thought about selling, but we just don't think it's right time. Oh, well, have you ever considered a trial listing? You see, you start entering into those conversations, and then you start showing up as the mayor of that area. All right. The last one I want to share with you, the last strategy is what I call off the market listings. Off the market listings. Okay. Now, what is off the market listings? What does that even mean? Well, I was talking to an investor. Actually, I was talking to the agent of an investor that put an offer on a listing that I have. And she was explaining to me how her investor was making this offer that my seller wasn't excited about because he had lost 40% of his portfolio, his stock portfolio. Okay. Now, you and I, we look at real estate, what's happening in the real estate world. But what we have to understand is that all financial markets are being impacted. Okay. All financial markets are being impacted right now. And so this particular gentleman was restructuring his portfolio. And what you'll start seeing, what you'll start finding is that there are a number of individuals that have property that are non-owner occupied. In other words, these are rental properties. Maybe they have them as Airbnbs or whatever the case is. And somewhere in their mind, they've considered the idea of restructuring their portfolio. Maybe they have 13 rental properties and they'd like to see that number down to 10, okay, or 9. They've got to liquidate 4 within the next 24 months. So it's recently I called Chris up, and Chris had a home in my neighborhood. He had it for rent, and I just happened to be out for a walk, talk to the people that were renting the house, and they were like, yeah, we're about to move out. Our lease is up. So I just looked up, Chris's number. It's right there in tax record, and got the address, and I called him. I say, hey, have you ever considered what your house might be worth in today's market? And Chris and I had the conversation. He wanted to see what it might be worth. We met over Zoom. He liked the numbers that I was showing him, and he put his house for sale. And I sold the house, made about $16,000 in commission. And it was all because I just casually was talking to the renters. It may not be every, off the market person, absentee owner, but there are a number of them out there. And if you start doing your due diligence and you start saying, hey, I know that, 13 homes just sold in this neighborhood within the last 24 months or the last 12 months, 13 homes sold. And I just looked on tax record and I noticed that there were 32 absentee owners in this neighborhood. Let me call all of them and say, hey, did you realize that there were 13 homes that sold in the last year? Are you interested in what your property might be worth in today's emerging market, since you have it for lease or you no longer live there? So, and a lot of them will be like, yeah, I was kind of wondering if I can get a new report on that. Great. Well, and then you open up the door that way. So let me quickly repeat the 8. All right. And then we're done. We'll wrap up. So number 1 is a trial listing. Number 2 is a pre-NOD, pre-notice of default. Number 3 is old expireds. Number 4, your sphere of influence. Number 5 is probate. Number 6 is divorce. Number 7, circle prospecting. And finally, number 8 is off the market listings. Don't forget the 3 buckets. Number 1, your sphere of influence. Number 2 is your farm. And number 3 is your niche. And finally, what I want to just recap, the 2 things that we talked about, the 3 lead buckets, where all the listing leads that you ever need will come from. And then we talked about the 8 key sources for listing leads in today's market. Now, I'm on YouTube. Be sure to check me out there. I've got over 800 videos with training on there. But make sure, first and foremost, that you continue to watch eXp University for all the brilliant trainers that are here, helping you succeed at the highest level. Stay in the real estate game, okay? Just go and find your cheese. I've also written a couple of books about listings. One of them is 400 pages. The other is like 200 pages. And they're both absolutely free to eXp agents. You can go to my website. You can get the PDF version of the book, because I know a lot of people don't like spending money, especially right now. Neither do I. So you can get the books absolutely free on my website at knolly.com, KNOLLY.com. Well, that's it for today. I love you. I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. God bless. All right. Well, there you have it. 8 lead sources for how to get more listing leads today. Now, I want to hear from you. Put it down in the chat which lead source you like the most and why. And also add some of your own lead sources. Now, this is only the beginning. I actually teach 27 different lead sources for generating listing leads, and I get more into the weeds of how to do it in my eXp Elevate coaching course. Go to expelevatecoaching.com. Make sure that you sign up for that course. It's called 10 Listings a Month, where I'm teaching you the specifics on how to take 10 listings a month like I did for over 10 years in a row. You are absolutely going to love this course. So go to expelevatecoaching.com right now and get enrolled in the course. Now, it's 6 weeks of training, and then there's a bonus of an additional 15 hours of training. So if you want Uncle Knolly to really sit down with you for over 20 hours and really unpack the listing game, this is your opportunity. expelevatecoaching.com. Sign up for the course, and I'll see you there.